is time to talk fantasy football. We do it with our Fantasy Football Insider every week. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Crest Cadillac down on Automobile Row right here in good old central New York. Go see our friends at Crest for all those fabulous Cadillacs. Let's bring him in from RotoWire.com. He talks fantasy football with us every week. Your questions welcome. Get in the comments and start asking him. The one, the only, Joe Bartel. What's up, Joseph? How are you?
I am doing great. The weather delay was not fantastic for somebody that has a 4-year-old that decided to wake up at 5 this morning for the first time all week. That was great. So I'm dragging a little bit. I'm looking forward to football tonight, that we get to have back-to-back games, and hopefully back-to-back good ones is kind of just a morale boost almost. And obviously, the Sunday, Monday games are going to be fantastic. I'm happy we got football again.
Well, Joe, the last time we saw you, we were indeed in person at
our
fantasy draft. So let me just ask you, I mean, we can't go through all the teams. That would be far too arduous a task. But give me your thoughts about how the draft went, about how you felt the teams picked, and how'd your team turn out?
Yeah, I actually haven't looked over the rosters all that much. Maybe that's sacrilegious. I probably should have done that a bit more. I was pretty focused. I mean, we talked about before I was in Syracuse last week, like that it was going to be Murderer's Row, the back end of the first round where we were all drafting, and I felt like it was going to be two separate drafts. That what the collective group of us in front was doing. We had another great person at pick number 2. Like the first 4 selections were going to be a draft in itself, and trying to navigate that, how to snipe people in that scenarios, who to leave behind, like Chris Olave. We had talked at the table, Jim, you and I, like you had correctly identified I wanted Chris Olave. I knew nobody else would, right? So I could have that wrap back. It was actually a really fun challenge, and it's one of the many, many reasons why I'll encourage all of you guys either to show up for this, to make it to the Champs League, to be a part of that environment, but to do live drafts yourself, because I thought it was fun to see everyone's reactions, to get to hear the, oh man, I wanted that guy, or a few of the, oh wow, okay, great for taking him early, good call kind of things. Like there was all of that throughout the building and throughout the event. It was a blast. I wish I had more analysis on other teams, but I barely remember what my team was, as it's been a sprint the past like 72 hours.
Oh, don't worry. We got the whole season to talk about it. But yeah, there's a picture of the chaps. Take a look at it. Boy Green's got it up there. Boy Green, you happy with your team?
Of course I am. I just got a championship team, for Pete's sake. So
Your
of course
team was
I'm
bad. I do know that.
See, there you go. I would say that there were several times that I'm like, oh yeah, baby, I've got this plan, and you could see it because and Lerch did this as we set up. Is that obviously we have a snake draft. So you could see the chairs line up. We're all lined up like that way. So I'm seeing the picks go boop, 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 all the way to me. And I'm like counting in my head. Because like you see that when you do the online draft, like, okay, 3 picks away. Okay, there's 2 guys I like. Okay, if this happens, I'm going to be good. And all of a sudden,
people should know, I sit us in order. I organize the seats, and we put out little name placards. So it's assigned seating. And I put it in the draft order. So when it goes down and then comes back, okay, I'm getting close. It's just a couple of guys right near me. It's coming back to you soon.
Yeah, so there was at least 2 or 3 times during the draft where I'm like, okay, there are 4 guys I like, and I am 5 picks away. The maths, I am looking good. And then all of a sudden, it was just bang, 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 just kick to the nards, just pow, 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 and it just happened. And I'm like, no. But it was all in my head. I didn't say any of that out loud. Like Emeka Ibuka. I gotta pull back up the draft results. I'll go through. Yeah, Joe did several of them, and I was like, "You son of a!" And then it happened because I was sitting at the table with Jabber's Wing Sauces, our defending champ, and there's a few times that he got blasted, and then he gave Joe crap. He and his partner there gave Joe crap, and Joe's like, "Well, I got crapped on, so I had to pivot to this." And my pivot hurt you, and then his pivot hit me, and it was like a domino effect of smacking, kicks to the loin. So, it was a painful experience for sure, but there's nothing like a live fantasy draft. But obviously, my team killed it. Yeah.
I love listening to Jabber, and what's his cohort's name? I should know his name.
Ryan.
Ryan. So he's got a little team. He's the only one that comes with 2 people. And they kind of work together. Right. And they were sitting in very close proximity. Me and Joe were sitting together, and you two were at the next table over from us. So we could hear conversations. And I love it when I make a pick and then I hear them grumbling. I'm like, yeah, I love it, Dad. I love to hear them grumble. Like, oh, man, we wanted that guy. Like, they kind of muttered it to themselves. I'm like, I can hear you over there.
Yeah.
So sniping is the best thing when you're picking fantasy. As long as
when you hold the rifle, I guess it's the best thing. When you're getting tagged in the back of the head, right, in a public place, not as great.
I think he only got sniped twice in this draft that I was like, I wanted that player. But I said it to Joe. I said, even though I got sniped a couple of times, I had a backup guy that I felt pretty good about and it was very, very close. So a snipe, but not a true snipe where I was like sitting on a guy going, please, please, please. And then bang. And you're like, oh no, back to the drawing board.
If we need content for your social media or for just overall the show, I did have Brian Drake, our buddy, who was also part of the draft and picking at the back end, record the moment when I took Mason Taylor in front of our guy, Boy Green. You can be the Jets fan all you want. You have far too many Jets on your fantasy team. It was very apparent what the strategy was. But the most important one, the cheapest one, possibly the best per value, Mason Taylor, will not be on your team. And I will make sure of that all season long. So we do have video evidence of that, which was wonderful. I enjoy that so much.
Wow. I didn't know that was videotaped, so wonderful. That's great. So send that along. I'm sure the rest of the universe would love nothing more than to see it. And I was doing it's funny you guys said it during the, I don't know if that's on video, but you talked about that you and Drake were saying 4 rounds in advance of like where it's going to happen. For me, I had all these like, Lerch just said it, right? You sure he got sniped a time or two, but they had 3 or 4 other plans ready to roll. So I had a few other plans and all of them were crumbling. I'm like, well, there's always Mason Taylor. I say to myself, and then it was coming around. And again, you're doing that math. And then all of a sudden I see like Joe making eye contact. I'm like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden him walking it over and going, yeah. So I can't wait to see the video because first off, I didn't know it existed. And number 2, so I haven't seen it obviously. So that should be great. But yes, I did plan on taking Mason Taylor, however the math works, 2 or 3 picks until you did. So that was painful. Yeah.
And Boy Green, do you know how many Jets do you have on your team? Do you know off the top of your head? I know you draft a lot of teams. So,
that's also true. So
I'm pretty sure that I don't have a single Giant on my team, and I'm perfectly
3. Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, and then the Jets defense for some reason, despite having the Eagles defense. Which was not a great start here, week 1 for our pal Boy Green.
No, that was not. So thank you, Joe, for being on top of that. So those are the Jets that I do have on the roster that I do. Yep. And the Eagles kicked to the nards did not feel good. So I probably
my mistake. 4, Braylon Allen, very important backup to have on the roster. Thank goodness. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Braylon Allen. Of course. He's going to
All right, let's get into everybody else's fantasy woes. Enough of ours. Let's start with the game last night, Joe. It was an interesting one. We got 2 teams that we expected to be offensively minded, and we got some good performances and some very kind of mediocre or even subpar performances. So dope it out for us. Game 1 of the NFL season, it's over. Philadelphia beats Dallas in a tight one. We had the weather delay, as you mentioned, but let's talk about the fantasy fallout.
Yeah, so I'll have an instant reaction, I think, as a live short on the RotoWire Fantasy Football YouTube page or wherever the social media stuff goes. I don't even know. That's actually recording next, so this is good practice. I had a couple of takeaways, and I think the very first one, and possibly most important, happened before the game even began. Jaden Blue, a rookie that a lot of people had talked about as like a sleeperish player when you're getting past round 12 and later, was a healthy and active. And there's going to be people that point to Devon Achane, his rookie year for the Dolphins, week 1, also being a healthy and active. And I think it really, really is telling that in a situation for the entire season, but certainly this week where you're expecting the Cowboys to trail, they were at end of the start of the game, they're 8.5-point underdogs or 7.5-point underdogs, one of the largest in the week 1 slate. You would have assumed that you'd want the guy that specializes in pass catching, but to have it healthy and active tells us so much about how Jaden Blue is not yet ready to be a pass blocker. And whether that be the Eagles or the first couple weeks of the season, I would imagine Jaden Blue probably is one of the first drops out there for a lot of folks. I will be doing the same thing. You can have these hot waiver wire pickups come week 2, week 3, and if you want to sit on Jaden Blue, you certainly can. Miles Sanders really kind of flubbed the game away with that fumble right before the delay for the weather happened. Had a long run they got chased down on. I think it's very clear that he's not the guy, but more importantly, Javonte Williams might be. And I think the bigger key for me is the Cowboys trusted him to be a pass blocker. He ran, I think, 17 routes or was out there on passing plays on 17 different occasions. There's some extra metric that you can see on X or Twitter out there if you search Javonte Williams. That's a bigger deal to me. Like Jaden Blue, maybe by week 10, can be that guy, but you can't afford to sit on that, especially in shallow benches like we play in and other leagues out there, to hope that happens when week 1, the Cowboys already told us how they feel about him. So I thought that was a big takeaway, was Jaden Blue nowhere to be seen despite a situation or game script you'd assume would be useful. A.J. Brown, only 1 catch, the very final catch of the game. Of course, that was very impactful for a certain few people that were in leagues out there that had him. I don't think Paul had him in our one, but I mean, A.J. Brown was a top 16, top 18 guy drafted, and I thought rightfully so. He had entered this game and certainly throughout the past couple weeks of training camp with a hamstring injury. To what degree that was an issue, or it was the Cowboys secondary, or just game script where the Cowboys knew they were going to attack the rushing angle of this and they were going to make sure that Jalen Hurts wasn't going to make mistakes, that if the Eagles were going to win this football game, it's because they didn't have any turnovers. I don't really know. And I'm trying not to overreact to a week one game, but I would imagine if you are trading away A.J. Brown today, post-game win over the Cowboys, you are probably getting less value than we were draft-wise just a week ago. So I'm not going to overreact to that. I think there was part injury stuff, part game script, but that is something to at least note that, hey, I mean, it is a little weird that he wasn't more involved in a situation you'd assume to be useful. Jalen Hurts only had one throw past 20 yards, I think, the entire game, which was that called shot to Jahan Dotson midway through the second quarter. So that's one of the other takeaways. And I think overall, Dak Prescott looked really good. I mean, no Jalen Carter, literally didn't play a defensive snap. Of course, he gets ejected right before the game even starts for that offense. Yet I thought Dak Prescott really was mobile, more mobile than we've even seen the past couple of seasons. And if it were not for a few CeeDee Lamb drops, which would have been like 4 or 5 points for me fantasy-wise, been great to have against my battle and Jamie here, I think that Dak Prescott, I would be more comfortable trading for him despite what will definitely be a sub-top 12 quarterback fantasy week because Javonte Williams plunged in the end zone from 1 yard. So Jaden Blue, A.J. Brown, Dak Prescott, probably the big three takeaways from that Thursday night win for the Eagles.
Anything on Devontae Smith? I mean, he just didn't get much. I mean, you think when A.J.'s not operating, Devontae is, and he really wasn't. So he's a hot and cold guy. I kind of stayed away from him. I think he's a terrific player. I just don't like sometimes how the Philly offense treats him. Give me a thought.
You're exactly right. I had looked at the over-under on pass attempts for the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts was set at 26.5. And you think about it, okay, typically if A.J. Brown is going to make up for that value, he's somewhere in the 8 to 10 range of targets. Like if he's going to be a top 20 pick, it's touchdowns, but also you're expecting that sort of volume. Saquon Barkley probably should be guaranteed, or at least the backs, let's just say 4 or 5 targets with Will Shipley in there, maybe an A.J. Dillon screen, whatever else. Like, okay, so if it's 15 between the backs and A.J. Brown, and then let's just say most weeks Dallas Goedert gets 4 or 5, there really isn't a lot of opportunity for Devonta Smith to be able to be in that target volume spot. Maybe the Eagles are trailing in those scenarios you're playing Devonta Smith, but that should have been a telling thing too, is very clearly he's number 2 as the pass catcher among that receiving group. But if there are no pass attempts happening, which was Vegas telling us week 1, 26.5 for Jalen Hurts over under, I don't know. I wasn't drafting Devonta Smith either for the exact same reason, Jim, that you were saying too. Like it was the Zay Flowers, Cortland Sutton range. There was a lot of other wide receiver 2s. If all other wide receiver 2s are equal, you either need A.J. Brown to get injured, which maybe he was entering this game, but more importantly, you need a passing attack that sustains that. We did not see that week 1. We have not seen that for often parts of Devonta Smith's career. He'll get 1,000 receiving yards. That's great, but he will hurt you more weeks than not, it feels like, with the way the Eagles are currently running this offense.
And I'll just tell you, Joe, you mentioned Jaden Blue, he might find his way on the block, of moving on. As soon as I saw him as a healthy scratch, I tossed him out. I threw out his bags. I kicked out his family from my house. You're out of here, pal. You're a gonzo. Now, sometimes that can hurt you when you make such rash decisions on things that come back to bite you in the tuchets. But I definitely threw Jaden Blue and his entire family out of my house. That is for sure. First off, we have a ton of fantasy questions, and thank you guys so much. So keep firing those along if you guys are watching on the Manchild Show Boy Green digital Facebook page, the Manchild Show Boy Green digital YouTube page, and my YouTube page as well, at Boy Green 25. I want you to grade a trade, Joe, and there's a lot of things you'll be able to do is see trades and fan questions, start, sit. There's a lot of different ways we can go with Joe, and Joe is, something for you guys to utilize here on a week-to-week basis. But here is a trade, and this is a trade involving me. But
of course. I knew it was going to be you. I knew it was. Oh, my.
Now, this trade was offered to me, and I'll be honest, on the app, when you get a trade in and it involves a lot of pieces, you don't see the whole trade when you get like an alert. So I saw it and I'm like, nice try, losers. You're not going to get me. It's in the Triple C League. And then I click into it. I'm like, oh, well, I see. And there's not a lot of trades that I just straight up accept. I'm a negotiator.
I was like, oh, good grief. I'm in that league, Joe.
So this was offered to me. But like I said, most of the time, I never take a trade straight on. It's like the Michael Scott thing. You never take their first offer.
You have to.
What's offer number 2? So that's normally what I do. But I didn't. So here it is. Here's the trade. It may be difficult for you guys to see. It's from the Yahoo Fantasy Football app. So Okay, so Evan Ingram, Denver Broncos tight end, Calvin Ridley, Tennessee Titans receiver, New York Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson in exchange for Indianapolis Colts tight end Tyler Warren and Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown, and I dropped Matthew Stafford. Now, this is before last night. So
Right.
But also, for folks who don't know this, is a good note that with your trade settings in your league, with a Thursday night game, this is going to hang out there in the universe for people to vote against or do whatever they want. And no matter what happens here, this has to hang now because of people playing on Thursday night football. So this trade is not going to go through. So especially because we have people in the starting lineup. So this is going to be hanging until next week. But I'm just curious your thoughts. A 3-for-2 combination. This was offered to me. I thought about it, and I'm a Garrett Wilson guy too, so that probably helped grease the wheels a little bit too. Who won this trade? Who lost this trade? What do you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was the very first commented question about the 3 QBs, which we'll probably get to in the show. That one was that's I have thoughts on this. This trade is definitely imbalanced, as all trades are that you accept, but I don't think it's egregious where I'd like outright decline, which is I feel like the mark that you guys have set for me as we've been doing this over the past half dozen or more years now at this point. I straight up think I might rather have Garrett Wilson over A.J. Brown. This is kind of a something that I've developed over the past couple weeks as I was thinking more and more about what I think this Jets offense will or will not be, and more importantly, what I thought A.J. Brown would be to the Eagles. I'm not at all reacting to what happened last night. I don't think that's going to be something that happens throughout the future seasons either. I just think Garrett Wilson's going to be a guaranteed volume, and the Jets are probably trailing, or at least to a point where Garrett Wilson comfortably is a 12-point PPR guy most weeks. Calvin Ridley, outside of this week against the Broncos, probably qualifies in that same range too, and I would outright draft Evan Ingram over Tyler Warren. So if we're doing this from a positive perspective to tier up from Garrett Wilson, you typically, let's just say, include a Ramondre Stevenson or Javonte Williams probably prior to this game would be a part of that equation too, to tier up to A.J. Brown, let's just say a 6 or 8 pick difference of ADP. To include Evan Ingram in that mix, I don't think that's fair as well too. So yes, Garrett Wilson, Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram, demonstrably so. I'd rather have that deal.
Great. So so my trading is off to a great start this year.
As
Wonderful.
Already it's happening. It's a nightmare, even in the Triple C. I'm so glad I came down there. All right. Today's broadcast, by the way, with Joe, brought to you by our friends at Crest Cadillac. Let me just take 30 seconds and learn a little bit more about our friends from Crest. When we come back, your comments, your thoughts. If you have anything for Joe, now's the time to jump in there, and we'll get your questions right to Joe. Stick around.
Cadillac certified pre-owned vehicles, exclusively available in Central New York at your participating Cadillac dealer, Crest Cadillac. Each one must meet high standards and receives a 172-point inspection, along with a 1-year unlimited mile warranty after the original warranty expires. Come into Crest Cadillac in Syracuse today for exceptional offers on Cadillac certified pre-owned models. CrestCadillac.com.
All right, we're back. And Boy Green, if you want to throw up some comments, we've got a lot of people jumping in there, saying all kinds of things.
Well, let's go to the first one. Joe thought this was the trade we're going to talk about first, and so let's get to it. It's a 3-part, comment thing here, so let's go through it. So, shout out to John LG here. He said, "Can you evaluate a trade?" It was a straight-up trade. It was Jamison Williams, the Detroit Lions wide receiver, for New York Jets quarterback Justin Fields. He adds, the team trading for Fields already had Brock Purdy and Kyler Murray. And here's just some other thoughts. They trade away Jamison Williams when 2 of the receivers were injured. So obviously, I think you know where John leans on how he feels about this trade. And their other receivers were suspended, and Amari Cooper just retired. And also, the one thing I'd like to add to this is that this is one of my leagues, but I was not involved. I want to make that clear. I was not on any receiving end of this. But Joe, I want your thoughts on that. But also, how much of it is a play when you know the people in your league, in this Boy Green league that John is in and others, it's all Jet fans. So that sometimes I think can have a play on people. If you know, like in our league, we have a lot of different fans. I know you're a Packers guy. Can I squirrel something out of Joe because I think he's going to want the Packer more than this or that? How does that factor into when you're dealing with trades as well?
Yeah, I think that matters. I mean, one of the key takeaways I always say to start the season is know your league rules and know your league members. And if you can't do the draft live, being able to understand what their fandom might be, where they might have preferences to players. I put all my takes out there on SiriusXM or on Twitter or on YouTube, or wherever else. Like, if you want, and there's a lot of different content I have, like you could figure out all my guys, like Jim did with Chris Olave beforehand. Like I was shrewd enough to make sure that he got back to me, knowing that he's not typically a liked guy. But I mean, that I have made that take very well known and available. So I have zero issue with that concept, like taking advantage or understanding what the fandom might lie and where the fantasy value is. I have a real big deal with here's no logical sense to go ahead and do this move. Conventionally, Justin Fields is right in that tier with Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy. You could throw Jared Goff in there. There are other people talk about Baker Mayfield or Bo Nix being slightly above that. There's this group of like probably 8 quarterbacks. You don't need half of that tier. Like it doesn't make sense no matter what, unless it's a 2 quarterback league, I suppose. But
which it is not.
I would. This is already one of those that I would just auto decline. Like if we're voting on this is not a fair trade. This does wreck the league a little bit in certain instances. Fields should not be going to a team that already has 2 other quarterbacks in that same tier, and especially since you're probably not playing him week 1 against the Steelers, there's no logical sense to do so. And while I'm not huge on Jameson Williams this year, I think he will have value and will be an upside play relative to a quarterback that probably could be dropped in certain non-Jet leagues. So this is one of those that I would probably be declining or saying that this is not a fair deal and wrecks what should be the balance of the league, even in a Jet premium sort of format.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add this in. It's interesting that the guy seeking Justin Fields was the one, or, he said, "What do you want for Justin Fields? What do you want for Justin Fields?" And then the guy went, "Jameson Williams." He went, "Sure, yeah, you can have him." And so it's just interesting, though, right? Like, so your evaluation is like, "Oh my God, Justin Fields, how you jobbing another member of this league when the other guys want to approach him?" So it is sort of interesting because obviously there's so many different perceptions of value there. Go ahead, Lerch.
No, what I was going to say is, we're so cagey, Paul and I, especially before we draft. Now the draft is over, so we can take the gloves off, so to speak. And I know people that watch our shows, want to hear our opinions about fantasy players. We both play in a lot of fantasy leagues, and we enjoy fantasy football a lot, and we have our takes. So I'll unveil what I haven't been able to unveil in advance. And it's some things that I kind of disagree with Joe on. Joe, I was asking Joe, we were sitting right next to each other, so we had a lot of chance to kind of talk about some players and stuff. And I have a feeling about Jameson Williams this year, that he's the kind of guy that has that pop upside that to me can be a league winner. If he were to boom, all of a sudden I've got a top receiver potentially. Does he have all the tools? Has he proven that he's there yet? I'm not sure that he has, and it gives me some trepidation in wanting to pick him. But to be able to get him in the 6th or 7th round, if I can get him in that range, I was kind of excited at the prospect. And in a couple of the leagues, I do have him. I don't think I have him in the Champs League. I didn't get him. He just went a little earlier, and there was some other guys on my radar. And the other guy that I really love that I also think has tremendous pop, and Joe's talked about this guy a lot, is the running back for New England, TreVeyon Henderson.
TreVeyon Henderson.
TreVeyon Henderson. That guy just, to me, I know it's just a look test. Me, I'm the touchy-feely guy. That guy just pops on the screen. I'm like, oh my God, if they give him a chance, he could be the guy. He could be the home run hitter. So I was kind of targeting those 2 guys in drafts, but trying to be careful about not overdrafting them. Drafting them too high where if they don't boom and they're what Joe believes they are, got myself a bad team here. So I kind of tried to toe that line a little bit with those 2 guys, but I love those 2 guys.
I don't dislike Jameson Williams, and I certainly don't dislike TreVeyon Henderson. I feel like I keep saying this. I was the guy back in SiriusXM when we were doing the shows late January, early February. I was in on TreVeyon Henderson. I liked him more than Caleb Johnson. I liked him about the same as Quinshon Judkins. I liked him more than Amari Hampton. Of course, Hampton gets drafted earlier. Like I love TreVeyon Henderson. I thought he could be Jahmyr Gibbs. The situation couldn't be worse for him. And people are going to try to just poo-poo that away and be like, oh, well, it's talent. I don't care. What we have seen from Josh McDaniels as both a offensive coordinator and head coach for the Raiders and Patriots respectively has been committee. Even when they had Josh Jacobs, who was built to be a full power or 3-down specialist or 3-down guy, you still had Amir Abdullah doing Amir Abdullah things for the Raiders. This is always how the Patriots have operated. This is always how Josh McDaniels has operated. So where Henderson ended up going by the end of August, which was late 3rd round, early 4th round, was an egregious value to me, despite the fact that I love the talent. And we can have the feels all we want. Oh, wow, he looked great in this kick return touchdown. Cool, he had an 8-yard rush. Okay, awesome. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to how the Patriots typically operate. And for Jameson Williams, a boom season for him is probably like peak Deshaun Jackson with the Commanders, where it's like 65 catches, 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns. I don't think the line's pass enough because he's certainly not going to be a volume guy. He's not getting 85, 90 catches. That's not how that works in that offense. So you need to have Jameson Williams scoring a touchdown just about every game of the season, and maybe that happens. But if it doesn't, then he's much more like a Kelvin Ridley on a PPR basis, probably ends up scoring more than Williams just because he's going to get far more volume in that offense.
Yeah, all right, that's a good point. Let me pop another. We'll try and get to some comments here. Oh, Yank says, should I play? He's talking about Garrett Wilson in this game with Jalen Ramsey on him all game. So let's
yeah, I have zero issue playing Garrett Wilson. I think by default, if the Jets are going to be getting to their implied point total, which I think was at 17.5 if I last looked, they're going to have Mason. I'm sorry. Well, they're going to have to Mason Taylor involved, but they're going to have Garrett Wilson involved. And I think you could be as run oriented as you might want to be, and you still have to pass the ball in the modern era more than 20 times. So I think that Garrett Wilson by default is fine. Jalen Ramsey is also not Jalen Ramsey from 5 years ago. Like this is kind of just like if we're to use Madden rankings, like an 85 corner. And I don't know if he actually is that on Madden because Madden's stupid with that stuff. But he's not nearly that good of a corner anymore at this point of his career. So yes, I'm not at all intimidated by Jalen Ramsey.
And just in general, on this question, Joe, how I know our mutual buddy Mike Clay does a lot of this on a week-to-week basis where he analyzes wide receiver versus corner and the impact that can have and whether or not that should factor into start-sit. Is that something you champion? That's a next-level thing that I imagine the casual fantasy football player does not pay attention to, should they?
There's maybe like 5 or 4 corners in the entire league that I do, like for Patrick Surtain for the Broncos. I'm not playing Calvin Ridley this week because it's Cam Ward's first start. We know that rookie quarterbacks, first-round rookie quarterbacks in their first start have often not been very good, and that's not at all indication that Cam Ward is not a good quarterback in the NFL. It's just going to be a really tough matchup. Patrick Surtain probably travels with Calvin Ridley. In today's NFL, you don't see these top cornerbacks travel as much with the top assignment from the other team from a receiver perspective. Like that would have been like a early 2000s, late 90s thing that you just see, oh, here's your stud corner, well, he'll follow a stud receiver. It's not how today's NFL's defenses operate as much. So maybe Christian Gonzalez for the Patriots as well. It's one of those that I think you can take away certain matchups, but really Derek Stingley is probably the other one too. There's just not many cornerbacks that overall that I'm not worried about that affect the volume, which is what you're looking for in fantasy.
All right, let's keep pounding away at the questions, guys. Keep them coming. We'll get to as many of them as possible here. We'll do a little bit of rapid fire. Badshaw says, I've got a question for you. My fantasy app tells me to bench Breece Hall for Jalen Warren. Your thoughts?
I always get angry at myself if I overthink things, and my studs that I'm drafting earlier on, in the case of Breece Hall, probably a 3, 4, 5 round difference to Jalen Warren. If Breece Hall ends up getting a touchdown and gets 3 or 4 catches, I mean, that's a guaranteed 12 or 13 points. You'd be really happy if Jalen Warren got a guaranteed 12 or 13 points. So I would get upset if I did not play my starters and overthought things a little bit. So I would play Breece Hall, but yeah, I mean, the projections are probably anticipating more of a committee than I think is going to happen. If the Jets want to play really crappy players like Braylon Allen in particular, or even Isaiah Davis more than Breece Hall, more power to them. They're going to lose a lot of football games if they do. So I'm of the belief that these guys aren't that stupid, and they'll actually play the best players more often than not.
All right, I'll jump over to this one. I fell victim to Brown last night. Should I flex Flowers, Pearsall, Olave, or Ali Gordon?
Yeah, I've been saying Ricky Pearsall most of the week. I was assuming Juwan Jennings would not play. I don't know what to make of this whole thing. Now, if Christian McCaffrey, who showed up in the injury report yesterday, was a limited participant in practice, I am at this point really, really nervous. I think, unfortunately, I don't feel comfortable answering the Pearsall part of things until Sunday when we know more information about who will be out there. So if we just assume Juwan Jennings is going to play and Christian McCaffrey will be out there, then Olave is probably my answer to this. And I really like Olave this year. I have far too much exposure in best ball and even redraft wise. He ended up being one of my most drafted receivers. I don't care that the quarterback situation is bad. I will not care all season long. Olave is a really good receiver, and so long as he's healthy. That's the caveat for me that I do care about. So long as he's healthy, Olave is going to be a top 20 fantasy receiver most weeks. And against the Cardinals, I have zero issue with the two. So I would play Olave with the assumption that Juwan Jennings is out there, and so is Christian McCaffrey.
Hakuna Matata 69 on YouTube. Thank you so much for that question. Jamie the FedEx guy, you just mentioned it there, but just in general, oh boy, Christian McCaffrey calf injury. How concerning is
MC,
this?
Baby.
I don't know, man. The concerning part to me is we'll never know because the Niners feel like this is fun and deliberate to not give us any information or whatever else. We saw it last year with your Jets. Oh, it'll be fine. Christian McCaffrey will be out there. The Jets stunk anyway. They're going to lose the football game no matter what. Don't lie to us about when Christian McCaffrey will or not be available. I don't believe that the Niners don't know about his status, and the unfortunate part is we won't know until, I don't know, at this point with their history, week 2 or week 3. This is why I wasn't going to go near Christian McCaffrey. I understood the league-winning upside. I did not want to deal with the circus that was John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, and they are probably the people that upset me the most right now in fantasy football.
A quick follow-up question here. Let's go to the next guy here. Let's just assume Christian McCaffrey is out. Again, he is not officially out for anyone that's tuning into this, but just for the sake of this question, if he's out, who should Vek, V-E-K-K, on YouTube start in his flex? James Conner, Marvin Harrison, Tyrone Tracy. We've got one of the McMillans or DJ Moore.
Probably Ted McMillan, maybe.
Yeah, I think it'd be James Conner first and then Ted McMillan second. I have zero issue if you want to play Ted McMillan over James Conner. That injury to I'm blanking on his name, the UDFA from Holy Cross last year, that he's out losing volume, I think just by default means it has to be Ted McMillan. It's not Xavier Legette. So I would play Ted McMillan over James Conner in certain formats, but I also think James Conner is going to be totally good against the Saints this week, and I think both are very comfortable plays if you really need to.
All right, Old Yank says, this isn't a question, just George Pickens kicked my fantasy in the nuts yesterday. What's your overall thoughts on George Pickens?
I was staying away from him.
Yeah, I was too. And like, I would rather have Jameson Williams over George Pickens, and they're being drafted about the same. I didn't think there'd be that much volume relative difference to what I think will happen in Dallas. There's also he's a personality as well, and you kind of have to factor that in a bit more, although Jameson Williams has done dumb things as well, too, that have cost him football games in his young NFL career. So I think there will be better days ahead for George Pickens, certainly. This secondary isn't as good as you would have thought, and I would have liked to have him more involved, but it's possible that Dak Prescott just trusted CeeDee Lamb more in a big game, and Lamb let him down on a few receptions, but otherwise maybe there are instances as the course of the season progresses where Dak gets that trust with George Pickens as well too. I'm not sure.
All right, Steelers or Chargers defense. A quick one here, Joe. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chargers against the Chiefs, Steelers against the Jets. I think the Steelers are the right call. Again, assuming with the implied point total with the Jets being one of the lower scoring games of the whole week one slate. That's typically how you go with these scenarios.
So again, salute to all Yank. Thank you for that question on YouTube. Not a question, just a scream. Jimmy! From Alon joining us in the YouTube chat. There you go. Throwing that one in there.
Here's a quickie on
sure.
Thornton. Tell us about Dante Thornton.
I mean, with the Amari Cooper sign and then is actually out, and Jacoby Myers being like trade and actually no, I'll stay on the team. Thornton, I think, is going to be on the outside as one of the starting receivers for the Raiders week one. 6'5", 4.3 speed. Did this at Tennessee. And Tennessee's unique college offense has not translated well. I think about Jim, your Jalen Hyatt was a much better receiver in college and has not done anything in the NFL. That being said, 6'5", 4.3 speed is really, really enticing, and not just on Madden. Like in real life football, like it's going to be one of those things that I'm interested in too. I don't think that the Raiders pass enough nor make enough attempts on the routes where Thornton will be successful, deep, straight on shots to be able to make a fantasy worthy start right away. But I do want to have him on my roster because he's 6'5" and runs a 4.3 speed and will be starting right away. Those type of athletes more often than not can boom. They have to be in the right situation, right offensive scheme. And that's the part we don't know yet. So I'd rather speculate on having him on my team than not.
Thank you, Matt from Auburn, baby. They're on YouTube. Bravo. Appreciate it. All right, one last one that I see on my side, and then anyone else you want to get on yours is Build a Produce Guy. Joe, talk about the reasons for the advice you gave me on the trade I was talking to you about last night.
Conversations going on.
I think Build a Produce Guy forgot about how I only got like 5 hours of sleep because my toddler just wanted to really mess with me on a Friday. So I don't necessarily know exactly the details of the trade he's referring to, and I'd have to pull that up on Twitter if that was the case. I think it was something about Jalen Waddle and James Conner, and that Bill had a decent amount more receivers and therefore was looking to have a better starting running back. Waddle is going to be in a spot week one against the Colts where I would think you could sell high post week two. Like, I'm sorry, when week two starts, I think you'd sell high on Waddle. And in the scenario where he doesn't do well, which has happened often for Jalen Waddle the past, 16 months, then the trades will still be there because there's still that name, the speed factor of what Waddle can be the Dolphins offense overall. So I want to sell high week two against the Colts as opposed to selling for what the value would probably be here similarly to week one.
So, Bill, thank you for that ominous question. We really appreciate that.
You like a quick start for Cooper Kupp? Last question, Joe.
Yeah, I don't think Cooper Kupp is very good at this point of his career. I think like Julio Jones Titans is kind of what you should be going with, and I would be sooner assuming Cooper Kupp is not on the NFL roster of any team next year. So I'm not drafting him. I haven't been going anywhere near him. I think JSN is still going to be totally fantasy relevant for the entire year.
I agree totally. Joseph, always great to talk to you, my friend. Thanks for the time. Again, back again next Friday. For those of you tuning in right now, we're just a couple of minutes away from another live show. We're going to do our NFL picks. Joe takes part in that. He won't be with us, but he sends in his picks, and we'll let you know who he thinks are going to win all these games against the spread. It's every game against the spread. Joseph, as always, thank you, my friend.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right. There he is, the one, the only. Joe
And
Bartel.
just quick correction, not a live show. Our NFL picks.
Oh, it's not. Oh, that's right. I'm
It's
sorry.
not a
Yes.
live show.
Correct.
But
All
don't
right.
worry, folks. We'll be taping that here very shortly. We'll be taping it around 11 o'clock every day with
We'll
our
drop it as
experts.
soon as we're done.
And we will. So you guys will be able to check that out. We pick
That's
every
correct. I'm
game against the spread. But since Lerch brought that up, I just finished uploading it. On our Instagram, there'll be a direct link when you guys watch the NFL Picks Against the Spread video where we pick every NFL game against the spread, obviously excluding last night. And you guys will get to represent the fans on our Instagram at MC Show Digital, which is conveniently right there at the perfect time. I just brought that up. You guys can go and click our story. If you don't have an Instagram, it's easy to make. And if you do have an Instagram, please follow us at MC Show Digital. Every Friday, you guys will be able to make every pick against the spread. It takes like 10 seconds. You just fire through all the picks. You pick the one that you think will cover the spread. Again, not who wins the game. Jets are a 3-point underdog at home to the Steelers. Do you think the Jets will cover the 3 points? Do you think they get blown out? That's sort of what you want to do when you're covering it. So, fans, it'll be a cool way for you guys to be involved all year long.
All right. Fantastic. All right. We'll see. Maybe some weeks we can bring that live. We'll see.
Sure. All right.
We're still putting our cast together. I think we've got a good one now. As Matt Lombardo has agreed to join us.
NFL Insider. Yes.
Very, very excited to have Matt as a regular. But yes, so stay tuned. In just an hour or so, we will have that available to you. You can see who we think are going to win every NFL game against the spread. We pick every game against the spread all season long, and we keep a record of our picks throughout the year, not even week to week, but entire season as well. And we'll give you those results on the shows, plus where we all stand, and we battle against each other for kind of an ominous non-trophy
Yeah.
more like pride, but still it's a very prideful title to hold year in and year out. All right. Final thoughts, if you have any, Boy Green.
Yeah, please like the video, hit subscribe. We're getting closer and closer. We're under 40 subscribers away from that 300 of Lerch taking off David Tyree off the wall. So again, guys, if you could please subscribe to the channel, feel free to do so. Lerch is grabbing it right now.
Told you.
Yeah, here we go. Let's go full screen.
Wall.
Yep.
Do you want it, or do you want it to stay on my wall? That is the question. It could be yours.
It could be. Again, it's going to someone, one of our first 300 subscribers. And by the way, we'll continue to do giveaways. So if you're in the party for the David Tyree, you'll also be in the party for every other future free subscriber giveaway that we do. So subscribe to the channel. That is at MC Show Digital on YouTube. If you're watching in a different location right now, like my YouTube channel or the Manchild Lerch Boy Green Digital on Facebook page, just open up the YouTube app. Super easy to do. I've shown a lot of people how to do it. This is the new way to consume our show, and it's a lot of fun. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you in a little bit for our NFL Picks Against the Spread.